What is going on, full-time family? I just got done watching blessed Max Holloway take on the answer Frankie Edgar in the main event of UFC 240, and it was a phenomenal fight, man. Max Holloway came and bounced back from that tough loss to Dustin Poirier, and he bounced back in a major way. He defeated the answer, the legend, the future Hall of Famer Frankie Edgar, and Max Holloway was able to win a unanimous decision. Two of the judges had it 50-45. One judge had it 48-47. I think I was somewhere in the middle of that. I think Frankie Edgar won round 4 possibly, but that was his best round. He was able to put together some good combinations on the feet throughout the fight. But in this fight, man, that the size disadvantage really stood out. And this is what I always talk about when it comes to wrestlers and grapplers and that size advantage. Size matters when it comes to wrestling. That's why I was so gloom about one of my favorite fighters of all time, if not my favorite fighter of all time, Jorge Masvidal, when he was going to be fighting Ben Askren. That's why I was gloom, because when it comes to wrestling, if you're going against a guy smaller than you, you're able to utilize your wrestling a lot more. Now, vice versa, as we saw in Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar, Max Holloway had almost a 5-inch height advantage, and so what that does is when you're in a clinch position against the fence, and you're going for single legs or really any takedown, and you're trying to get a lift on your opponent, and you're trying to lift them up, you're bent down trying to lift them up, and by the time you stand up and normally people would be off the ground, these guys' feet are still on the ground, so you can't get your takedown. And so it made it extremely difficult for Frankie Edgar to get any takedowns in this fight. He was only able to get one of his takedowns throughout the entire 5 rounds, but he was being a former champion and a legend and a future Hall of Famer who's been in, I believe this was his 9th title fight throughout his career in the UFC. He's also, a great striker. He's not just a one-dimensional wrestler like a Ben Askren or somebody. He can actually put together good combinations, which he was doing. But another thing he was not able to do was throw head kicks. When you're Frankie Edgar and you're that much shorter than a guy, the champion Max Holloway, I mean, there was a time where they broke away from the fence toward the end of the fight that I recall just off the top of my head, where he threw a head kick. I mean, it was as high as it looked like Frankie Edgar was going to throw a kick, and it came up to like Max Holloway's neck or his chest. You know what I'm saying? So his head kicks turn into body kicks. So you don't have your wrestling, you don't have your head kicks available, and it just makes it extremely difficult to beat a world-class fighter like Max Holloway. But given those circumstances, I think Frankie Edgar put up a great performance. Also being 37 years old, I mean, you could for sure argue he's past his prime. He's fought through multiple eras. He was here. This is Frankie Edgar has been in the UFC for a long time. Like I said, 9 title fights throughout his career. He's fought through multiple eras. So to still be competing at the highest level in the new era is extremely commendable. So Frankie Edgar is another guy I say, like Cowboy Cerrone, he could be inducted into the Hall of Fame while he's still fighting. He's already earned it. With that being said, after the fight, he said he's still going to keep fighting. It's not over. And so we'll see what's next for Frankie Edgar. What I think is next for Max Holloway, I'll touch on that real fast. What's next for Max Holloway, man? I don't want to see him move back up to lightweight until he makes the permanent move. He wants to actually put on the mask to be a legitimate lightweight, because if he doesn't, he's going to have matchups against wrestlers and also guys like Dustin Poirier, who are just used to cracking a lot harder and being hit harder than Max Holloway is capable of. So with that being said, if he puts on that size, he could be a legitimate lightweight. He does have the frame for it. But right now, I would like to see Max Holloway continue to fight at featherweight. He's pretty much cleared out the division, but there are a few new faces that are on the way up that I would love to see fight Max Holloway in the future. One, of course, being Alexander Volkanovski, who might be next. I mean, we just heard that, who is it? Yeah, Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker are going to be fighting in Melbourne, Australia. And so I could for sure see Max Holloway versus Volkanovski being a great fit for that card as well, being that Alexander Volkanovski is also from that area. So that would be a great place for Max Holloway to fight next if he's ready, if he's healthy in time. And another couple guys to keep your eye on at featherweight, of course, is Zabit Magomedsharipov. He might be one fight away from a title fight, one or two fights away. And one other guy I've got my eye on, and that's Super Sadiq Yusuf. He's got a tough fight coming up, I believe, next weekend. But Super Sadiq Yusuf is extremely talented. He reminds me a lot of Kamaru Usman, and he's just dangerous, man. He's a featherweight on the rise, so all of these guys got to keep their eye on him. He might be two fights away. As far as what's next for Frankie Edgar, it could be a guy like Sadiq Yusuf or just anybody that's looking to test themselves and crack the top five. It can't be Zabit because they're teammates that I don't see them ever fighting in the UFC. But Frankie Edgar could fight Sadiq. He could fight Volkanovski if he doesn't get the title shot next. If Max Holloway's out for an extended period of time, if he's got any injuries coming out of this fight. So we'll see what happens next, man. But yeah, keep your eye on those three guys in the featherweight division. I think we'll probably see Holloway versus Volkanovski next. And as far as Edgar, depends on how much time he wants to take off and such. With that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think about Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar in the comments. I'm out.